Once again, I welcome you all. In the previous session, we discussed a couple of parts of the poem Prayers to Lord Murugan. And now, in this session, I would like to deal with part 3 onwards. Friends, as you know very well, this poem comprises of 11 different parts. So far, we have completed 2 parts out of 11. And now, we are going through the third part. Let us recite the part 3 first. As your poet says, Lord of green growing things, give us a hand in our fight with the fruit fly. Tell us, will the red flower ever come to the branches of the blueprint city? Here, right in the beginning of the poem claims that, hey, you Lord Murugan, you are the Lord of green growing things. It means whatever nature, atmosphere, environment, flora and fauna, greenery, scenery, whatever we find around us, Lord Murugan is the Lord of all these things. But if you see the last few words of this particular stanza, the poet says, give us a hand. It means the poet is expecting a supporting hand, helping hand from Lord Murugan. Now, try to interpret this particular expression as made by the poet. The poet says, hey, you Lord Murugan, you are the Lord of green growing things. Now you try to analyze green growing things. Does it mean that he is the Lord of farmers and agriculturists? Because a farmer puts in a very sincere effort to grow his own different crops in the fields. And here, the poet also says that, Lord of green growing things, give us a hand. It means it is impossible for an agriculturist, it is impossible for a farmer to grow anything in his fields without the help of, without the support of, without the blessings of Lord Murugan. So this is how this stanza can be analyzed critically. In the next expression, the poet says, in our fight with the fruits fly, tell us. Now you try to see the couple of stanzas here in totality. Lord of green growing things, give us a hand in our fight with the fruit. In our fight with the fruit. Don't take it literally. Symbolically, the poet is trying to present it, but actually the poet is willing to say that a farmer puts in his own very sincere efforts while working in the orchard and growing different types of fruits in his orchard. So without the support, without the blessings of Lord Murugan, it is impossible to have the expected production or a bumper production. And that's why the poet says, Lord of green growing things, give us a hand in our fight with the fruit fly. Tell us, tell us, will the red flower ever come to the branches of the blueprint city? God has his own master planning for everything in the world. Blueprint is nothing but a kind of planning that you undertake, that something, the task that you want to do. You prepare your own blueprint first. That's why the poet is also expressing the same way here. The poet says, tell us, will the red flower ever come to the branches? Means, since you are the Lord of green growing things, will our trees, will our orchid, will ever have the branches filled with flowers? Because until and unless the flowers are there, you cannot even expect the proper blooming of the fruits. So it is in continuity, the poet is trying to say. Give us a hand in our fight with the fruit fly. Tell us, will the red flower ever come to the branches of the blueprint city? So the God, that is Lord Murugan, may have his own blueprint for the entire universe. Don't take it too literally, the city. It doesn't mean that the planning of the God only for the city, only for the town, only for a suburban or urban area. Whenever he does something, he stands for Lord Murugan. He does something, he does it for the entire universe. He has a planning for the entire universe. So this is how this part 3 can be critically interpreted. Now, I will switch over to the another part. Let us look at that, part 4. This is also a very brief part, I would say, that goes for hardly 13-14 lines over here. Let us recite the part first, or the text first. Lord of the great changes and small cells, exchange our painted grey pottery for iron, copper, the leap of stone horses, our yellow grass and lily seed for rams, flesh and scarlet rice for the carnivals on rivers. O dawn of nightmare virgins, bring us your white-haired witches who wear 3 colors even in sleep. What does the poet say right in the first section or the first stanza in this part? As in the previous expression, in the previous part, the poet has said, Lord Murugan, you are the Lord of greenery. Everything which is green around us, you are the Lord of it. It means you are the Lord of nature. In this case, in this part, the poet says, Lord of great changes and small cells. Maybe in my previous expression somewhere, I might have told you that change is the law of nature. Something or the other always undergoes a change around us. And without change, I think nothing is really possible. So, change is the first law of nature. And here, the poet says, Lord Murugan, you are the Lord of great changes and small cells. Whether there is a change in a small microorganism, or else there is a change in the larger or extended form in the world, whatever. It is all possible only with the will and wish of Lord Murugan. So the poet is now making a request. What does the poet offers You know, we do offer something or the other to our deities. Sometimes a sweet or some food stuff, or else you have some, even the rich people offer jewelry, the precious stones and all that. So here, the poet is making a request and asking for an exchange. You know, you also might have seen some advertisement boards holding posters for exchange offers by different companies and malls. So here, the poet is making a request to Lord Murugan and he is offering an exchange there, something in exchange. What does he say? Lord of great changes and small cells, exchange our painted grey pottery for an iron, copper, the leaf of stone, horses, our yellow grass and lily seed for rams. Hey, you Lord Murugan, you know, we have developed in our own ways. As you are responsible for the change in the world, but we have also put in our own efforts as the human beings. We have developed different arts. We have developed different artifacts. We have so many painted grey pottery that we can exchange with you all. We have gone through the iron age, copper age, stone age also. We have experienced a lot in the course of human generations together. And we could offer you everything. We could offer you horses made up of stone. We could offer you the artifacts made up of copper and iron. We could also offer you anything that we have. We have the yellow grass and lily seed that is meant for the rams that we are maintaining, the pet animals that we have. We can of course do it from our end. But you know, what we are expecting from you, we expect only one thing, your blessings. Your blessings in the form of a bumper production, a bumper crop in our fields. We expect only one thing, that you should provide us the very healthy atmosphere in order to live our life comfortably. We want only one thing, that you should really give us a flesh and scarlet rice for the carnivals to celebrate on the banks of the rivers. And we invite you all, we invite you always to come with your white-haired witches who wear 3 colors even in their sleep. Here you need to understand that when the poet refers to the 3 colors, it means he is talking about the basic colors of the universe. Red, blue and yellow are the basic colors of the universe. Probably he is making a reference to it. But as a matter of fact, when the poet is inviting Lord Murugan, he is not inviting Lord Murugan alone. He says, do come with everybody else with you. Don't come alone. Since you are the Lord of snakes, you are the Lord of greenery, you are the Lord of changes, you are the Lord of microbes, you are the Lord of everything which is very vast, everything. So on and so on. So please don't come alone. You come along with your witches also. The other day I have shown you the image of Lord Murugan. Lord Murugan having 6 heads, okay, 12 hands in the form of arrows as it is mentioned by the poet, and 2 witches, 2 women are sitting on his laps, both sides. So probably the poet is making a reference to it. Your white-haired witches who wear 3 colors even in sleep. So do come with them. Don't come along at all. And this is the critical appreciation of the part 4 of this particular sequence. Now, I would like to move on to the another one, that is part number 5. What does the poet say here? It is little longer actually. So first of all, I will read it out for your understanding, better understanding. Lord of the spur of the Tigris, outside our town, hyenas and civet cats live on the kills of leopards and tigers. Too weak to finish what's begun. Rajas stand in photographs over 9-foot silken tigress that sycophants have shot. Sleeping under country fans, hearts are worm cans, turning over continually for the great shadows of fish in the open waters. This is the half of the 5th part, I would say. What does the poet say here? The poet says that Lord of the spur of Tigris. Just keep on remembering whatever is said earlier. In the beginning, the poet has said, the Lord of the new arrivals, lovers and rivals. Next, he said, you control everything else in the universe. Then the poet said, you are the Lord of green growing things, followed by the Lord of great changes and small cells. Now in this expression, in this stanza, the poet says, Lord of the spurs, the Lord of the spur of the Tigris, outside our town, hyenas and civet cats live on the kills of leopards and tigers. It indicates that wherever the poet resides in the particular town, in the outskirts of the town, there is a forest, a jungle. And you know that lion happens to be the king of the jungle. He rules, he dictates in the jungle. His roaring itself is an indication that everybody will run away. Everybody will run away. So here the poet says, Lord of the spur of the Tigris. Probably you might have seen the image of Lord Murugan. Lord Murugan, a lord who has 6 faces, 12 arrows means 12 hands, sitting on a peacock, and peacock is also holding a very big snake in its fingers of the leg, and 2 women are sitting on both the sides of the Lord Murugan, on the lap of the Lord Murugan. It's a beautiful scene actually. Probably you might have seen this image. Some other time I will show you once again. But here the poet says, hey you Lord Murugan, you are the Lord of the spur of the Tigris. And as you know, the other animals are generally killed by the wild animals in the jungle. That is the rule of the jungle, law of the jungle. Whosoever is strong will always kill the weaker one. So the leopards, tigers, they find their prey, they kill the other animals, they have their full, enough stuff, food stuff. And whatever is left over, remnant, that remnant or leftover is eaten away by the hyenas and the civet cats. That is all happening in the jungle. That is the law of jungle, the rule of jungle. Jungle Raj, I would say. So those who are weak, they are suppressed. And those who are strong, they will dominate. And probably the same thing happens in human life also. Jiski lathi uski bhais. If you see somebody who is very strong enough, either financially, politically, or administratively, or in any other ways also, He will try to dictate. Probably the poet is making the mockery of the situation over here, if you interpret this thing in this way. Because in the next expression, the poet has said, too weak to finish what's begun. Rajas stand in photographs over 9 feet silken tigress. Of course, a dead tigress. You might have seen that in the movies made on kings and queens and prince and princesses. They undertake an expedition, an adventurous expedition in the jungle. They are always accompanied by a number of people. They go on a hunting expedition. They kill some or the other tiger or a leopard or a panther or a cheetah and come back with a very boastful expression that he himself alone has found a prey and killed that particular wild animal and coming back with this. And ultimately they come back and they are expressed in a different way in a photograph. They are portrayed in a photograph, and boastfully somebody in the following generation will say, this is a king so and so, Raja so and so killed this particular wild animal. So this is all shot by a sycophant as expressed in this poem. Then the poet says, sleeping under country fans, hearts are worm cans, turning over continually for the great shadows of fish in the open waters. See, one thing you need to compare and contrast. Whether it is the jungle Raj or the kind of life in water. The bigger fish will eat a smaller fish. बड़ी मछली छोटी मछली को खा जाती है. But here we are talking about a kind of rule in the jungle, the kind of rule in the forest, that the wild animals, especially tiger, tigress, leopard, panther, okay, they will always kill the other smaller animals. And here, in the next expression, the poet says, sleeping under country fans, hearts are warm cans, turning over continually for the great shadows of the fish in the open waters. How do you define this sleeping under the country fans? See, the breeze of air that comes from any direction gives you a lot of comfort. You can also say, like, if at all you are sleeping under a tree, you don't need any kind of mechanical instrument called fan to provide you some comfort. Naturally, you are provided with lots of ventilation and you get a lot of cool, calm breeze, gives you a comfort. But the poet has said over here, sleeping under country fans, hearts are warm cans, turning over continually for the great shadows of fish in the open waters. You know, you might have observed the life in the water. Sometimes the fish do come on the surface of the water, sometimes in search of more amount of oxygen they need, and sometimes just to experience the heat of the sun. And when they experience the heat of the sun, of course, we could see the great shadows of the fish also. So this is how this particular expression is made by the poet here. Now I will talk about the other expressions made in the same part, that is part number 5. The poet says, we eat legends and leavings. Remember the ivory, the apes, the peacocks we sent in the Bible to Solomon. the medicines for smallpox, the similes. See guys, in every age, at least there is one disease that remains to be incurable. Generally we say, eat an apple a day, keep the doctor away. Okay, it's a very good suggestion for maintaining your good health, no doubt. Presently, we are going through a bad pandemic situation caused by COVID-19, that is Corona. Here, the poet happens to mention smallpox. Probably in the Holy Bible, that reference is there about the Solomon who was infected by smallpox, and he was provided with number of things like ivory, apes, and peacocks in order to cure his problem, his medical problem. So this reference has been made over here. For muslin, wavering snake skins, a cloud of steam, ever rehearsing astronauts, we purify and return our urine to the circling body and burn our faces for fuel to reach the moon through the sky behind the navel. So here, the poet is talking about different things which are related to the human survival. It indicates that we, the human beings, have made a lot of development and progress in the course of time. Right? We could reach out to the space. We have revived our body. Medical science has reached up to certain level, and our body also knows how to revive the things. Probably you may know, minor issues are auto-controlled by the human body. So the poet is talking about the circling the human body and all. Similarly, he talks about reaching out to the moon. Of course, we do need the fuel, lots and lots of fuel to reach out to the moon, because there is a reference to an astronaut, reference to the moon. Actually, moon is nearly 384,000 kilometers away from the surface of the earth. But our adventurous expeditions by Americans made it a reality. And Yuri Gagarin, Neil Armstrong and others could land on the surface of the moon. So probably the author or the poet is trying to make reference to all these things and trying to mention that yes, we the human beings have made a change in life. But this is all possible only with the blessings of Lord Murugan. Because Lord Murugan is the God of changes in the world. And all these changes were possible only because of the blessings of Lord Murugan. Then in the next part, that is part number 6, the poet says, Master of red blood stains, our blood is brown, our colors white, others other leaves and 64 rumor ads tingle, pins and needles at Amty's fingertips in phantom muzzles. What does the poet say here? Now it's a kind of repetition. This time he calls Lord Murugan the master of red blood stains. Okay, continuously our heart is pumping the red blood which is circulated throughout our body. In all organs are provided with stamina with the help of this properly pumped up blood. But here the poet says, Master of red blood stains. Hey you Lord Murugan, you are the real master of our life. We are alive today because of you. our blood is continuously circulating in the different organs of the body, it is because of you. But the poet says, our blood is brown. How is it possible? First he says, you are the master of red blood stains. Now he says, our blood is brown. Here, what I personally feel, A.K. Ramanujan remembers. A.K. Ramanujan recollects from his own experiences that there is a discrimination that happens in the USA, in America, between the blacks and whites. I hope you know, the white Americans call Indians as either brown or as red meaners. These are the two terms which are applied by the white Americans to the Indian people. And somewhere in the backdrop memory of the poet, it is strongly, deeply rooted. And that's why the poet says, our blood is brown, we are neither white nor black, we are brown. And we are very much happy with the white collar jobs. What do you mean by a white collar job? 10 to 5 job. You're working for a company, organization, or a multinational branded corporation, or a government job. You are happy with the salary which is offered to you. 10 to 5 job. Monday to Saturday you have to work. Weekends off. You enjoy yourself and you are happy whatever is offered to you. That is called white collar job. And here the poet says, we live based on this 64 rumored hours tingle. And we are happy with our lifestyle. Whatever we have, we are contented with. Whatever we could do with our own efforts, learning different things around us, we do it. Pins and needles and empties, fingertips in phantom muscles. We do experiences all ups and downs in life. Right? Continuously we experience it. And we are happy with that. If at all, even an organ of our body is derooted, still we are happy with it. So what I think, like, the poet is trying to ridicule the matter. He is pointing out the typical middle class tendency. And that's why this sort of expression has been made by the poet. So I think due to the time constraints, I need to prohibit myself. So maybe in the next class, we will try to discuss part number 7 onwards. And I will try to complete in my next class from part 7 to 11, because all are the very short stanzas and the parts as written by the poet. So thank you very much for patient listening. See you in the next class.